Hi everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and I'm your host of the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here's where we talk about the connection between creativity and healing by interviewing amazing creatives, spectacular healers, and inspiring people who have used creativity in their healing. What does it mean to be creative? What is creativity? You don't have to write a best-selling book or paint a masterpiece or even play in a rock band. Creativity is in everything that we do, in the ways we think, in the way we run a business. In our everyday lives, we are creative all the time. Let's talk about how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, right now on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today, I have with me Sue Young. Sue was one of our presenters for the Loving, Healing, Creating Summit that we ran in February 2 to 14, and we absolutely loved having her. You can still get access to that summit at www.creativeu, that's the letter U.ca. So Sue is a mixed media artist inspired by fantasy and dark whimsy. She is fascinated by expressive faces and animals, and she loves to create dreamy portraits. Her work evolves in many layers and is often accompanied by a story or poem that comes to her along her creative journey. Sue studied fine art and design as well as fashion design, and over years of creating has worked as a glass engraver, run several galleries, and designed and even created headdresses and tiaras for the bridal house. Sue considers herself a lifelong student and also discovered in the past few years how much she enjoys sharing the skills and techniques she has developed, offering workshops in beautiful Cornwall, UK. And then in 2019, she launched her first online classes and is so grateful to be connecting with many students and artists around the world. So welcome, Sue.
Thank you. Hi there.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. And so can you share some of your story and your path with us?
Well, like you said, I was actually quite a late student. I always wanted to be an artist from a very young child, but I was actually quite good academically. So I was very much guided into working. I did physics and English and things, and then went out into the world and didn't use any of them. But I'm kind of glad I did it because, language and English and the creativity of writing is still something I use. So it wasn't completely wasted. But when I had my children, I continued creating myself. But I actually went back and got a formal education when I had my daughter, and I went back again when my youngest daughter started school and studied fashion design after that as well. So kind of explored lots of different pathways, textiles as well as artwork.
And all of it's brought you sort of to where you are today.
Yeah, they both form each other, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does healing with creativity mean to you?
I think that art is for everyone, or creativity is for everyone. It's just that kind of aha moment when you can open a door for someone and they realize that they can be creative as well. Whether it's your home design, being creative in that way, whether it's making clothing, or whether it's just baking really beautiful cakes or putting an amazing meal together, all of those things are creative, and they're so healing and so inspiring for you. It's you're giving yourself something when you're creating for someone else. So I think it's really important for all of us. And we wouldn't be where we are as humans without creativity, because it's all problem solving and taking an approach outside the box, figuring things out and different ways of making things happen. It's all part of who we are. So it's vital. Yeah,
absolutely. And do you think there's a driving force that inspires you?
For me, it's I guess there's kind of a collector in me. So that's perhaps my stepping off point. I've always got, and I think a lot of artists are the same, I've got collections of shells and feathers and leaves and all that good stuff. And that for me is quite often if I'm not actually able to be physically creating or painting, that's my stepping off point, is to kind of collect and organize and take pleasure in all those things. So it's kind of a tactile beginning that inspires me, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Excuse me.
Is there a past pain that's informed your life purpose?
I think, like everyone, you have your ups and downs and your tragedies and your challenges in life. I'm a single mum of two. I raised two amazing daughters on my own, and I'm probably
Mhm.
quite fiercely proud of that. So for me, that was always my escape, and that was whatever went on, whatever. And I made some really bad decisions, and all kinds of things happened along the journey. But I survived all of that. And the one thing that I never lost was my art. That was always mine. My creativity was mine. It
Mhm.
was challenged sometimes, and it was certainly something that I had to battle to do. And I think that's perhaps what makes me so fierce about it now, that it is for everyone, and you need to free that up.
Mhm.
But I kind of learned to realize that that was actually because it was mine. It was perhaps threatening to someone else because it was the one thing they couldn't take away, which made it even stronger. So that in itself was healing, and it gave me a power that I didn't know I
Right. Yeah. No, and yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that
had. Mm.
because it is yours,
Yeah,
no one can take
absolutely.
that from you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and if someone is threatened by it in some way, then you're probably doing it right.
Hmm.
It was something that couldn't be, and that was a kind of an awakening moment, realizing that I did. I don't want to go into details, but in difficult times and in a very difficult, very challenging relationship that I eventually got out of, I even had work sabotaged. But it wasn't. It was upsetting, but it kind of didn't matter as well, because it made me feel strong. Because, like, really, you're so threatened by
Yeah.
that I that's my power, and that can't go away. You can destroy every painting, but it won't stop me from creating more. So there is a healing side to that, definitely,
Yeah.
and an empowering side to that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is your favorite creative healing modality for yourself?
um Again, for me, I it goes back to, it starts with tactile things. I begin with sort of collecting and layering and putting things together, and sort of creating a story, I suppose, from the different elements, and that's where it begins, which is very much because I've worked with textiles and with paint. I think the two things inform each other, and I just bring in different elements and give things an extra depth with adding in different approaches, and sometimes you can tear things up, and they're even better when you put them back together with something else. That
Yeah.
that's really inspiring for me to be able to do that. The cat's making the camera wobble again. She's having a good look.
Not to worry. Um, so what would you say is your greatest accomplishment to date?
um, for me, it's I'm doing what I love every single day. I work really hard. I work stupid long hours, but I wouldn't change any of it. And that's it for me. That's now, I feel like I finally got to where I wanted to be. And I've worked a lot of quite crappy jobs because that's what you have to do to get through, and that, but I never gave up on it, and I never stopped wanting it, and I've sort of I've made that happen, and I know that's never going to change now. Even if I do have to still do other jobs or whatever to get by, that's fine, but it will always be my main thing and my main focus. So having got this far is kind of my main achievement, and I'm all right with that.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's excellent. And if you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
I don't know, through my work, that's very difficult. It's just to make people stop and take a moment, I suppose.
Mhm.
I don't have any problem with people looking at my art and going, oh, I really don't like that. What I don't want is for them to just pass it by as if it was wallpaper. Because even if they hate it, it's provoked a response, so they've noticed it. So something has happened. So that's kind of, as far as my artwork goes, that's important. But for all of us, it's just actually slowing down and taking time, and actually stepping away from distractions, which we're constantly bombarded with, especially now, and actually just giving yourself that time and that space to think about being and
Yeah.
creating. So whether I can do that from my work, whether that gives someone a still moment, I don't know, but that would be something that for all of us as a society, we would benefit from just taking a quiet moment every day.
Oh,
It's a lot
absolutely.
easier said than done. A lot easier said than done.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And I
And
distract
there's so much
myself.
to do. And so,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's the first thing that goes with other people putting demands on you. That quiet time is the first thing that goes, because there just doesn't seem to be that time left for you. Yeah.
I know I've actually found that I have to get up earlier to have that time, right?
Yeah,
To be able
yeah.
to take that time. So
But
that,
it's more precious than the sleep.
yes,
It's does you more good. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And what inspirational advice would you give someone who's struggling?
Um, I I think what I've learned, and what I always try to hold when things are rough or you're going through something really difficult, I would hold in my mind, is that nothing ever stays the same.
Mhm.
It might be so dark right now, but tomorrow it will be different. And tomorrow it will be behind you. And in a week's time, it will be history. So even a prolonged dark time is never there forever. There is always an end to it. And to so embrace that, and embrace then when things are good, remember to stop and take note and embrace that as well, because sometimes you forget that and you only remember it's really easy to rail about all the difficult days you've had this week, but what about all the good ones as well? You have to keep that balance. So, but yeah, if someone is really struggling, I would say just remember that nothing ever stays right where it is now. It always passes.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have an inspirational quote that sums up your life journey?
I don't have a quote. I thought a lot about that question. I For me, I think just live in the moment. Just remember to be exactly where you are right now. That's where you're supposed to be. If I could find a quote that fitted that, I could, but I didn't find anything that
Well,
really that I
maybe we'll
hold
just
on
make
to.
it, a Sue Young
Yeah,
quote.
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah,
Yeah, creative one for you. Yeah.
there we go. We'll just make that one, attribute it to you. So,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I'll
And is
take
there
that.
anything else that you'd like to tell our listeners today about you or your work, or anything we might not have touched on?
Oh, I'm just so excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing and learning from other people as well. I don't think you should ever stop learning and learning what you can do and how you can create for yourself, first and
Mhm.
foremost for you.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah, but
Oh,
keep learning. I don't ever want to say that's the best painting I'm ever going to do. I always want to get to that and say, like, the next one's going to be even better. Because if
yeah.
you reach that point where you feel like you're never going to do anything better, you're going to stop. So keep learning.
Keep learning. Yeah. That's an
Mm.
excellent way to end that. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. And to our listeners, join us again next week. And in the meantime, I wish for you an amazingly creative day. Thank you.